Hey everybody, welcome to episode 5 of the Shot Clock podcast. This week we're releasing 2 episodes after the tie between North and South for where the next player comes from. So we're going to head down south to the People's Republic of Cork. We're going to sit down with the one, the only Neptune legend. It's Ger Noonan.
Welcome to the Shot Clock podcast with me, Ger. Today's guest is Neptune Killarney, and now retired, which is making me sad because guys I played against who are now retiring makes me feel that little bit older. But a Cork legend and a legend around the league, Mr. Ger Noonan. How are you, pal? How's Towles been treating you?
It's been fine. It's been tough like everybody else. The homeschooling with 4 kids now is a bit tough. All right, I won't miss that when this is all over. To be honest, you know.
Yeah, it's a tough one, all right. Especially when you're holding down the job and then trying to homeschool. Yeah.
I'm lucky I'm not a teacher. That's all I have to say.
Hey, you did good there.
Yeah.
So with the podcast, it's just getting to let people know about you, more or less, about your career, about teammates, about people you looked up to, who inspired you, the whole lot. So with that in mind, our first question is, who, what, or why inspired you to pick up a basketball for the first time?
Well, I suppose when you're 7 or 8, you're trying to see how all sports are, you know. And during the winter, we never had anything to do. So coming out of the North Mon school, Neptune was right next to it. So I just walked in there, and there happened to be an academy going on, and Tony O'Connell was coaching it, and he said, "Come back. You're too late for this season, so come back next season." He said, because I'm not sure was that a kind of dig at me or what it was, but he said, if he comes back in 6 weeks' time, we'll know we have him. And that's where that kind of started for me. I went into Neptune, joined the academy, and Tony really kind of gave us the joy of the game and taught us the right way. Right, he'd tear the head off you if you did anything wrong, but at the same time, it was great. You know, it was like, right, this is what it's about. And we had a very good team at the time, even though we were under 11. And that's how the club kind of came together for me then. Like, these fellas were my teammates for years to come, you know.
Yeah, it's always great to start young with players and grow with them through the ranks and move your way all the way up to, you know, possibly Super League or beyond. It's nice. It is. And basketball is it's a family, like most clubs are family clubs when you look back. You know what I mean? You look at Vincent's and it's family. You look at Leicester, there's families. You look at Neptune, there's families. Like, it's fantastic when you see that, you know, and it's great that you can get the kids going. And I've been looking at some of the academy stuff that Neptune are doing now, and it's absolutely fantastic. You know what I mean? Paul Kelleher's doing a great job there.
Yeah, fantastic. And again, everybody's running in and learning from Paul, and that's exactly what we want, you know. Like when I was under 12 or 13, I have to give him a shout out, because if I don't, like, I had Denis, Wallace and Dermot Murphy coaching us, and like, again, made it more enjoyable for us. There was a good crack, a good fun, and as you're becoming a teenager, you know, like Wallace telling me he's the best shooter the club has ever seen. And
Wallace is still telling people that he's the best shooter the club's ever seen. You know what I mean? I had to listen to him on the Masters team last year telling me how great he was.
But again, a great friend of mine, and like, you know, like, here I am nearly 40 years of age, and I talk to Wallace 2 or 3 times a week, you know what I mean, where it started. He was probably just trying to help out the kids when we were younger as well, you know, to give back to the club. And that's very important, and especially in clubs where there's no funding and stuff, is, you know, where you need more help than you're getting, you know.
Yeah, it's very true. Very, very true. As I said, you started with Neptune, you had a spell with Killarney, and then you finished up playing with Neptune. Looking back over the years and your teams that you played on, who was your favourite teammate, and why was that person your favourite teammate? I'm sure this is going to be a tough one to you, because you've played with some good guys over the years.
Well, just to go back on what we started, like, I started at 7, 8 years of age with Mick McGinn, you know, and we went through the ringer. We won everything up to minor, and then we went through the ringer for 10 or 12 years, you know, as in, like, so close but so far. And the man can run for Ireland, and he was the fittest, and he was a great teammate. He'd always have your back. And then to the latter stages of it was Gary Walsh. You know, always a great teammate, always fella to make a big shot when you needed it in the corner. And we slowly became the two older guys on the team then. So it was, you know, kind of relying on each other. We were slagging the young fellas. You need to bring the two older fellas in to bail you out again, you know. So they were my two favourite teammates going through the years, definitely, like, you know.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. From my point of view, you were always one of the tough, I've said this to you off camera, you were always that person who gave people work on defence. You prided yourself in your defence. I loved watching you play because you knew whoever you were guarding, it was going to be a tough assignment for them. So thinking of that, who was your toughest person to defend? And then on the flip side, who played you the hardest on dig over the years?
I have two. Patrick Pope was by far the hardest player I've ever played, we'd say, in the point guard position. He was just, him and Chris Craig gave me the business many a time, like, you know. And when you think you're there and they just either pull up or cross you over, and, you know, oh man, it was a nightmare. Most people say that's the reason I went marking post players after that, was because but in saying that, no, they were like I remember playing against Chris Craig when I was in Killarney, and some of the stuff he used to, you just couldn't, he was so unpredictable, like 4 feet outside the 3-point line and he's just letting it fly. Patrick Pope was just silky smooth, crossover, speed, jump shot, and laughed at you after he did it, like, you know. So from that point of view, like, you know, from playing me the hardest, the Donnelly, oh my God, he used to give it to me, like, you know, he used to give it to me every night. And I think over the years it became a mutual respect. We used to hit each other, but not in a dirty way, but like, I knew when we played Vincent's, I was going to get everything he had for me, and I get. But then he moved on to Mick McGinn, and that was grand for me then as well. I was happy.
I gave you a little break.
That's it. Paddy Kelly as well was a nightmare to defend.
Look, I was playing pickup ball with Paddy last, 2 summers ago. I keep forgetting that like 2020 didn't exist. 2 summers ago. Paddy Kelly could still do a job Super League right now. Now, he is still fit. He's still hard work. He can still shoot. He can still do it all. And then at the end of it, he's like, "Yeah, see us next week, lads." I was like, "You just broken me up for an hour and a half. And you're just waltzing out the gym like you haven't even been here." Like what a player! What a player! So basketball players, like, we're all superstitious. I have my number 13 over my shoulder here because that was my thing. I'm going to wear number 13. You know, bad luck for everyone else, and not bad luck for me. Have you any superstitions or game day routines that you don't change?
No, not really. No, I used to always try to be there on time. I suppose that was one thing that
I don't think that's a superstition, Ger. I think that's something you needed to do.
No, what I meant is when the coach you say, "Okay, I want you there 45 minutes before the game and ready and tagged off and on the floor." If the game is at 7, you're on the floor at 6:15, and so I used to be there at 6. You know, that kind of way, try to make sure you were there on time. And so, and like, then you fellas walking in 25 past 6, you know the usual stuff, like, you know. So I
was walking in at 20 to 7.
Yeah. As I went on and as I moved on and the warm-ups got a little bit slower, 10 to 7 would have done me.
Absolutely. It's amazing how long you can stretch for the older you get. You know what I mean? Just watch all these young guys just flying in with legs, and you're just on that sideline, just with your resistance bands, just leaning there, going, "You know what? Yeah, keep going. I'm all right. I'm good. I'm good."
I'll pass it to you. I'll pass it to you all day long.
So, growing up, Had you a favourite pair of kicks that you used to wear? What's your go-to game shoe? Have you a favourite brand or?
Not really. Like, being back in the day, kicks around Ireland weren't. You couldn't get them unless you knew somebody going to the States.
Yeah.
Like, we laugh about it. Like, we went to Luxembourg to play with the Irish team under 13, and I was wearing golas from pennies, But as I got older, Nike. It was just Nike. And if we were lucky enough to get a pair of Jordans on a birthday or a Christmas present, they were your go-to shoes. Whether they were playing, yeah, that's it. So
it's funny.
Nike
it's
or
funny
Jordans.
Jordans now. Like, I played in Jordans and they're so uncomfortable. They look great with a pair of jeans.
Crazy.
They're so uncomfortable. Even did you watch the episode of The Last Dance? Jordan's talking about wearing the Jordan 1s back in the garden in his last season. And, like, he comes off the floor and his socks are soaked in blood, and you're like, they were the go-to shoe.
Yeah,
everybody wanted the Jordans.
Yeah, everybody, and they were the most uncomfortable shoes to play in ever.
Yeah. Look, you made a few quid out, but that's the main thing,
Just a few.
So, talk about your time at Neptune, your time at Killarney. Who are you taking to a pickup game? It's you and 4 others. People you played with, people you wished you'd played with. Who are you taking to the gym to get that W? Winner stays on. Who are you bringing with you?
All right, so when the initial question came out, I thought it was people you played with, okay? And I just went, I said, I'm not going to disrespect any Irish players, so I just went with my 4 favourite Americans that I played with, and I'll take them. So, first of all, it was Kenny Gamble.
Oh, big Kenny, man. He was a tough customer.
Yeah, he gave it to you a couple of ways as well. So,
yeah.
Then Joanne James, I'm not sure if you saw him play, but he came in the late or the early 2010s. He played with us in Neptune, and he was one of the best persons I've seen in the last 10 or 15 years in the country,
Yeah, I don't know.
I have to give a shout out to Michael Bonaparte, just for his free throws alone.
Man, he's got some longevity. Bonaparte's got some longevity. He's still going. He came in
getting better with
age. In the league was my first year back. So that's 06.
Yeah, I know.
Shit.
And a guy who played with Killarney, Tyrone Levitt. He was from Alabama. He went to Alabama State, and again, he was 6'5", and he could do everything. I loved playing with him. He was just one of those good guys that would make you better, feel good about yourself. And I think he did dunked on Jenkins one night down in Killarney, and he made the Christmas tree fall and everything. It was priceless, man. It was one of those, you have to be there, Somebody fell off the court into the Christmas tree, and he's dunking it. Oh man, it was great. So
see, this is why we miss social media. Only had social media back then.
I know the dunks that people missed out in back in the early 2000s and early and late 2000s. If you
weren't there, it didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Right, so we're going to try and change gears a little bit. We're going to talk music. Who are your top 5 musical artists of all time? Who can you not live without listening to?
I suppose all my fellas are kind of old school, because since my kids came along, my time for listening to music goes out the window. I'm busy being a bouncer and a cab driver and everything else. Like I suppose, So, I'm a big fan of Jay-Z. I always have been. Since real back in the day. Tupac, Biggie, all hip hop artists really. Snoop and Drake. They were the 5 I wrote down. But again, when the Americans used to come in and they bring new music with you. That was the only way you're getting it. Like, people fail to remember Spotify and Apple Music wasn't there back in the day.
Didn't exist.
If there was a favourite song, you're recording it off the radio, with the cassette player.
hoping the DJ didn't speak before or after it. Hovering with the finger already. That's it, was two big, yeah. Please don't talk. Oh, brilliant. So we're warming up. What are the last 3 songs we listen to before we go to the bench? If Ger is in charge of the DJ booth.
Again, I've just picked my favourite 3, like, that I would personally prefer to listen to. One would be Kanye West and Jay-Z, Otis.
Yeah.
And then Drake, Forever. And then to get to Jay-Z and Kanye West again in Paris. That would be, I'd be ready to tear somebody's head off by the time the ball is thrown up after that. in the nicest possible way, of course.
I must make sure that's not on any of the Masters playlists when we get there next season. So, like you said, you started playing ball when you were 7. Growing up in Cork, it's a tough place to grow up in. I grew up in Tala. It's a tough place to grow up in. We had sport. We did the right thing. We played some sport. But what advice would you give to a 16-year-old Ger Noonan if he was sitting in front of you right now?
From a basketball point of view, I would say definitely work on his jump shot. 100%. Like, it's not all about getting to the basket when, you know what I mean. But like, for me, like, I've had this conversation with loads of people. I wouldn't have to change anything because Neptune was my go-to. I was there 4 or 5 nights a week. It kept me out of trouble, kept me off the streets. You know what I mean? And like, you had role models in there, like Stodzer, like Steve McCarthy, Gordon Fitz, as you said earlier, like going in to watch Terry Strickland on the weekend, man. And you go in there to clean the floors just to get in there because you'd have to queue for 2 hours otherwise, So,
yeah.
Like, Neptune kept us up. Neptune kept certainly me out of trouble for a long, long time. Like, you know what I mean? And I keep saying that to people in the club, the older people in the club, that I was forever grateful for it, But like, there's, like, like, I'm from Farnree in Cork. It was a real tough area, like, so, like, beat up or get beaten up was the the attitude, like, you know what I mean? So,
well, you had your safe place, and the safe place was the stadium.
Yeah, well, I went home, did my homework. Well, pretended to do my homework, and went straight to Neptune. You know what I mean? And there was never a problem down there. There was always somebody down there. Like you train with your own team, and then like Gordon Fitz would drop you home one night, like, because the Super League training was on, and like, you were always looked after down there, and that's why I try to get back to Neptune as much as I can. That's why I'm coaching in the academy, trying to help out whenever I can, because that's important. And it's huge in a club, when you have that good feeling in the club, it just keeps going, and hopefully that's what I'll be planning to do for the next couple of years,
Well, like, as you said, the likes of Denis, Wallace gave his time up for you, and if you can do the same for the next generation, who knows, in 20 years' time there could be somebody sitting on a podcast very similarly turning around and saying, look, if it wasn't for Ger Noonan and it wasn't for Neptune, I could have gone down a bad road, but here I am, and I've had a good career, and that stands to you. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like, there's a lot to be said about it. Like, you're traveling around the country, you're getting to see new places, you're getting to see everything. Like, if you make an Irish team, you go abroad. Like, we got to experience. I got to experience everything I wanted from basketball. And if I wasn't playing that, I don't know where I'd be. You know what I mean? Like, I met my wife through basketball. Everything comes full circle. That kind of way.
Absolutely.
And that's what I hope my kids will get, and that's why that's why I'm trying to keep it going in the stadium for my kids to experience that,
Yeah, fair play. Look, that's fantastic. Like, we're lucky enough up here. Myself and Rob Kane started our own academy, and like that, it stemmed from a conversation where somebody said to us, would you not coach? Like, oh, I don't know. And then we got thinking. It was like, hold on a minute. Like, somebody gave up their time for us, and we got to do exactly like you said. We got to travel Ireland. We got to travel Europe. We made friends that still 20, 30, 40 years later, we still talk to on a daily basis. All because somebody's mom or somebody's dad said, you know what? Yeah, I'll open the gym. I don't know much about basketball, but like I'll say, you need an adult. I'll sit here while you do what you're doing. So it's lovely to see, and I think Irish basketball especially, we all look after each other.
Exactly. And if you ever have a problem anywhere, or if you need something in a different country, you always have somebody like, who do they play against, or who's on that team that I might be able to help.
Who's coaching down there?
That's how it starts. Yeah, exactly.
Right, so second last question. I can't believe that, like, this has just been a dream to record. Second last question. So, dead or alive, friends, family, famous. 5 people to sit down for dinner tomorrow in your house. Who are we sitting down with?
Right, I went with 5 famous, okay, because I just, again, not to upset any apple tart or upset anybody.
That's right, the way to do it.
Without question, anyway, number 1 would be Michael Jordan, okay? Number 2 would definitely be Kobe Bryant. And then I put LeBron in there just to end the debate, so the 2 boys could tear the head off him to end the debate who's the greatest. And then on the other side of the table, I'd have Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson, because I just think with the 5 of those, that would be just to reminisce on. Yeah, so whoever opens their mouth, you don't even have to ask a question. You just sit there and listen for the whole night. Like that would be my ideal 5 anyway.
Absolutely, yeah. That's solid. Now here's the next one for you. What are we having to eat? And are you cooking or are we ordering in?
Oh, we're ordering in. So you can either have KC's from Douglas, or you can have Tung Sing from Partridge Street. Either way, they'll be good.
Brilliant. I love it. I absolutely love it. Ger, look, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure talking to you. It's great to see you again. Because, like, geez, I haven't seen you since the second last game of last season, or the season before it is now, up in Aina.
Yeah.
It's always great to touch base with someone I've played against, and somebody who I admire playing and who I enjoyed watching playing. So the last question for tonight is, who would you like to see on the Shot Clock podcast? Past or present Super League player, who do you want to hear from?
I was thinking about it, and I was saying I'd love for you to get somebody that played between 2000 and 2010, that got the kind of older generation and the newer generation, and see how big the gap has been from, like, we all hear about the 80s and 90s and how good they were and how everything was this, but again, like, I'd love, like, somebody like Isaac Westbrook's, for argument's sake, now, that has been around just as long as me.
I have Isaac coming on. So yeah, your wish has been granted.
and obviously, if you could get Terry Strickland on, I tune in every week for that.
you know what? I'll try and get Terry on, because I'd love to sit down and talk to him. I would love to sit down and just get his view on his years in the league, and like he played with some legends and against some legends as well. So I can imagine, like, who's he going to bring to a pickup game? Like, shit, like.
Yeah. That's it.
Like that's a D squad. And
like Joel Kennedy could. Like I remember talking to Joel Kennedy about that, and he was kind of like saying, I was like, well, he could probably ring Jordan and bring him to the pickup game because of being good friends, So
Look,
he was another fella to give you the business.
Yeah, man, what a player! Like, as I said to you off camera, my Super League debut, my National League debut was guarding Terry in Neptune, as a 16-year-old kid. Like, it didn't get much better than that. You know what I mean? It really didn't. Like, I remember, like, it was that fandom. He hit his first shot over me, and I felt like patting him on the back and going, "Yeah, that was a really good shot, man." And then realised I was like, I'm supposed to stop him. Oh yeah. Okay. Head in the game. But yeah, just that fanboy moment where you go, Terry Strickland just gave me the business. Ger, look, as I said, absolute pleasure. Hope to see you next season in some capacity with Neptune, whether it's you're bringing your academy kids up to play against our academy kids, or we come down and visit you, or, you know, even if you're going to travel up to Dublin for a game, you know. Hope we might see you on the bench as an assistant coach.
Something, we'll definitely arrange something. We're always looking for stuff like that to make a deal with it or stuff, you know.
Brilliant. Look, there's always a game there for you. Absolutely, always. So you look after yourself. Love to the family. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon.
Same to yourself, man. Appreciate it.
Cheers, Ger.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode. As I said, 2 episodes this week. If you stay tuned, I'm going to tease the next person. Another Masters teammate of mine who played his time up north with Star to Sea, brief trip down to Tolka, and now a St. Declan's Masters player. I think it's an episode everyone's going to really enjoy. Big shout out to Denis Wallace. You heard Ger Noonan speaking about him so highly there, and anybody who knows Denis, he's the crack, plain and simple. And obviously the best shooter that Neptune's ever had, bar none. Tune in again on Thursday at 8 a.m. for episode 6. And on Friday then we're going to have a vote to decide whether we go 2 episodes a week from now on. The choice will be yours. So until next time, it's Jago saying, I'll see you on the court soon. And before we go on in the podcast, I just want to put everybody in the Masters community on notice. Mr. Jackson, what did you tell me before we came on air? What are you going to do this Masters?
You know, a lot of people were teasing me last year. I was in warm-ups and I really couldn't get up. I probably had a few extra pounds, but I said, this Masters coming up, I'm going to get back to high flying, and I'm going to put down at least 1, if not 2 dunks. And that's a guarantee.